What's up gamers, and welcome back to yet another video. So it's been about 2 weeks since I uploaded my pure Zoodiac deck guide, but I have made some changes to the deck since then. And some of you guys actually noticed this in some of my later pure Zoodiac gameplay videos and actually asked me to do an updated version of the deck. And I thought that was a pretty good idea, so a massive shout out to this guy for bringing this to my attention. Before we go any further, I want to let you guys know that the changes I've made since then are not life-changing in any way, shape or form. I've just tried to adjust the deck a bit more to my own personal rate of enjoyment, as well as me realizing that I am developing new ways of playing the deck, and so I wanted to make some changes that were structurized around my evolving playstyle. So the guide that I made is definitely still viable, and the deck that I showed you in that guide video is definitely viable. After all, I did manage to hit Plat 5 with the exact deck that I showcased with an almost 70% win rate, so I still highly recommend having a look at that video if you haven't done so already. And if you have already had a look at that video and figured I could use some minor changes here and there, I highly recommend watching this video then. And with all of that being said, let's just get straight into it. Although the changes that I've made since uploading my deck guide video aren't life-changing as I just mentioned, I really feel like this version of the deck is a lot more fun and easier for me to use, in contrary to the first version of the deck that I originally ran with. Now I can't say that it will be the same for you, but I don't really like following a deck guide with like a textbook kind of approach. I mean, obviously having the skeleton, if that makes any sense, of the deck and then actually building the deck will get you pretty far in this game, especially in ranked, if that's what you're going for, to climb rank. But I feel like having your own twist on the deck can make such a nice outcome for you, as well as you are trying to adjust the deck into being easier for you to use. Let's say I'm horrible at decision making, I will then try to make some changes and add some cards that will ease out those difficulties for me. So that's essentially what I have tried to elaborate here with these changes, and I'm figuring we should just go through them one by one, and then you can decide for yourself whether you like this version of the deck more or whether you're old school and want to go with the original deck that I posted a video about. I actually hit Plat 4 again before recording this video, which is the same rank that I hit in the last season with the older version of the deck. So really, no matter what version of the deck you go with, this updated version or the older one, I can guarantee you that you will have a sweet time nonetheless. So right now I'm actually at a total number of 42 cards in my main deck, whereas with the older version I was at 40. I don't recommend exceeding this number, as the more cards you have, the lower the odds of you drawing something useful, something that you really need or want are obviously lower the more cards you have to go through. You can definitely amp it up to 42 if you just want some extra firepower, but I don't recommend exceeding this number at all. And the first change that I went ahead and made is that I removed one of my Maxx cards, so now I only have 2 instead of 3. The reason for this is that I don't really feel like I need more than 2 in most of the games, so I figured I can just remove one, make room for another card instead. If you play Maxx properly, you will either force your opponent into not overextend, and then he will just end his round as soon as possible to not perform as many special summonings as possible, which will then give you the leverage and be able to take control of the board, because obviously he's scared. Whenever he special summons a monster, you're allowed to draw a card. He doesn't want to give you that opportunity. And even if he does decide to overextend his turn by summoning a lot of monsters and letting you draw cards, well, the chances of you pulling something like a Raigeki, a Lightning Storm, or similar to that are just pretty high. And with those cards in your hand, well, you can take control of the board in an instant afterwards. I didn't change anything regarding my Ash Blossom, Skullmeisters, or normal Zoodiac card lineups. Those are the exact same as before. I went ahead and removed my 3 Nibiros and added 2 Gadarlas instead. I love Nibiru, it's super strong. During the main phase, if the opponent normal or special summoned 5 or more monsters this turn, we contribute every other monster on the field. That means both our monsters and our opponent's monsters. And then we can summon this guy, 3k attack on our field. But we also have to summon a primal being token to our opponent's side of the field. You can choose whether you want to put him in attack or defense position. Obviously, you want to go for defense position in most scenarios, but the primal being token will have the total amount of attack power and defense power that your tributed monsters from your opponent's side of the field had. So let's say you tribute something with 2000 attack, 2000 defense, and some other monster with 3000 attack and 3000 defense. Well, the primal being token will then have 5000 of both attack points and defense points after being summoned. And I didn't really like that, to be honest. So instead what I did was I added these two Gadarlas, which we can special summon from our opponent's hand by tributing one monster they control. So it's a good way to target a specific monster you want to make sure that is not active, in case it has like some quick monster effect that can negate an ability or something like that from your opponent's field. Obviously it doesn't have the firepower that Nibiru has because it can level the entire board, but again it will also remove your own cards. So I figured it's probably better for me to go with the Gadarla monster, as sometimes I go a bit aggressive myself and maybe summon some monsters when I shouldn't, and that just sucks when you have to remove them from play by using your Nibiru. So again, it's up to you whether you think that the Gadarla or Nibiru is the more useful one in this scenario. I also removed my Hobby's Feather Duster. The reason for that is I have some other cards down here that can help me destroy some spell cards on the field. Twin Twisters, I'm really liking this one. By discarding one card, we can target up to 2 spell or traps on the field and destroy them. What's not to like? And then I removed my Cosmic Cyclone and added 2 Mystical Space Typhoons instead. I actually had this way earlier when my deck was a budget version of what it is today. And I don't know, I just like this more than the Cosmic Cyclone. The reason for that is when you want to use Cosmic Cyclone, you have to pay 1000 life points. And then you'd actually destroy and banish the spell or trap on the field. But I'm thinking about crafting Solemn Strike and add that to my deck instead of my Torrential Tributes down here that we'll get to in a sec. When a monster would be special summoned or a monster effect is activated, we can pay 1500 life points, negate the summon or activation, and destroy the card if we manage to do that. So since I'm planning on using Solemn Strike, I will have to offer some life points, sacrifice some life points, and then having more cards that subtract from my life points. I just don't like that. Maybe I will add them at a later point, but I mean, I'm just digging Mystical Space Typhoon. Forbidden Chalice, I replaced my Infinite Impermanence, my Forbidden Droplets with those. Forbidden Droplet is really good. We can send any number of cards from our hand or field to the graveyard and then choose same amount of cards on our opponent's field and negate their attacks. Negate their damage, half their damage, and negate their effects. So it's a super good way if you want to, let's say, use a Raigeki and you have a monster that can negate spell activations. You would then use Forbidden Droplet to make sure that that monster is negated for when you want to use your Raigeki. But as I mentioned just before, you have to sacrifice your own cards to use Forbidden Droplet, and that's kind of a toll on your deck or your hand, how you want to look at it, because you're just discarding card that you won't necessarily have a way of getting back into your deck again. However, it's very good as you can target multiple cards on the field, whereas Forbidden Chalice just target one face-up monster on the field and negates their effect and actually gives them a 400 attack bonus as well. So it's really up to you. Do you want to go for the discard and use Forbidden Droplet to target multiple cards on the field, or do you want to settle with something more casual, the Forbidden Chalice? If you're new to the Zoodiac deck and you haven't crafted a full deck yet, I recommend going with the Forbidden Chalice, as it's a rare card and the Droplet is a ultra rare. So that's some crafting materials you'll be saving there. Moving on, I added 2 Torrential Tributes. I just like these. I found that I'm playing my Utopic Draco Future more and more. and he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So playing your Utopic Draco Future and activating a Torrential Tribute, which destroys all monsters on the field, well, you don't have to worry about your Utopic Draco Future getting destroyed. You're just laughing at your opponent as you see all of his monsters getting destroyed. Keep in mind, it will destroy your Sky Thunder, as he can definitely be destroyed by card effects, but not for the Utopic Draco Future. So I feel like this guy and these are a really strong lineup. I used to run with this bad boy as well, the Zoodiac combo. I don't use him anymore though. I actually found that I rarely used him when I had him in the deck, so this was a no-brainer for me to get out of the way. What we can do with this card is when it's in the graveyard, we can banish this card and then target 5 Zoodiac cards in the graveyard with different names and shuffle all 5 of them back into the deck. But I essentially get the same choice with Pot of Avarice: target 5 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle all 5 into the deck, and then draw 2 cards. So I feel like this is a better version of Zoodiac combo, as Pot of Avarice I can use on other monster cards, let's say Ash Blossom, Maxx, Gadarla, or Meister, instead of only targeting specific Zoodiac monsters like I do with the Zoodiac combo. So those are essentially all of the changes that I've made to the deck since uploading my original deck guide. Again, this is tailored for my evolved playstyle since making my original video. So some of these might seem really stupid to you, or you'll maybe just dislike the idea of, let's say, switching out Nibiru for a Gadarla, and that's completely fine. I'm not gonna brand this version of the deck as something better than what I've already shown you, but this version of the deck is definitely a better suited for my playstyle, in contrary to the original version. So that is it for my updated version of the pure Zoodiac deck for ranked gameplay in Master Duel. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. I know there wasn't really much to it, just some card changes. The combos are pretty much still the same, although you do get some other opportunities and openings with the new cards that I've added to the deck. The reason why I didn't include any combos in this video is because I have already showcased those in my earlier pure Zoodiac deck guide. If you haven't already watched that, again, I would highly recommend doing so. Maybe you can learn a tip or two. And with that being said, I just want to thank every single one of you for tuning in once again. And I also want to say a massive thank to all of you guys for taking your time out of your life to comment on my videos. I know it might not seem like much, but to me it's just such a nice feeling. I am really loving making these videos, and getting some feedback from you guys, it's just all I could ever ask for. I did mention in my last video that I was planning on doing a Tri-Brigade Zoodiac deck, and I still am. As soon as I have the materials needed for the last cards, I will craft the deck, obviously, and play it a bit myself, and then I will have a video ready for you guys. I was hoping I could do this over this weekend, but unfortunately I didn't have as much time on my hands as I thought so I don't think I will be able to finish crafting the deck. I only need 2 cards, but as you can tell, I'm pretty low on gems, and I gotta buy some card packs to dismantle some cards with. Anyways, that is all for today's video. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. It was lovely to have you here one more time, and with that being said, until next time.